Alright guys, it's Chatterbox Reviews, coming at you guys with The Brave, Season 1, Episode 2 review. Alright, so, I thought this was a good episode, overall, right? I did think, last week's episode was better. I thought the pilot was, very entertaining. Not that I didn't think this was entertaining, but yeah, I thought the pilot was a little bit better. But yeah, I'm still really high on this show. I really like this episode. Yeah, like it's just really entertaining, a lot of action, right? And I think like the way that this is like written with the missions and all that, I think it's really realistic, which you don't see a lot on TV. So yeah, so I really appreciate that point of it, or that part of it. And yeah, so this one, I'm gonna go over a quick recap here, and then get to some of my ratings and my rating and my favorite character here, typical stuff. But yeah, so I think this will be a little bit shorter than usual, just because I'm kind of taking out the most important stuff instead of going over the whole episode here. And I do apologize for this one being late. Yeah, I'm quite late, but I've been pretty busy with some other stuff. So, yep. It sucks, but anyways, get into it now, of course. So, yeah, The Brave, episode 2. So, basically, this one, yeah, the beginning was disappointing to me. So, there's no answers about who drove that truck and bombed the beach. So, last episode, and that was, like, the cliffhanger of last episode. So, I'm a little bit disappointed with this. I was going to say upset, but, disappointed, though, because I feel like it had so much, so much, like, chance, I guess, or they had, so much, of a future, in this event happening, right? They could have made so much more out of it. Right, and they really just didn't. It fell short. I felt like it was a really good cliffhanger, right? And we just began this episode like, it didn't really happen. So, yeah, I'm still trying to think of that word, but anyways, but yeah, so it was just a little disappointing to me. I would have liked to see maybe, okay, who drove the truck, maybe, right after it happened. Maybe they go visit someone, injured in the hospital or something like that. Just something to have to do with that event. But it was just kind of fake, right? Like, they teased it with this cliffhanger, so we tune in this week, and then we don't even get a payoff or any answers about it. I think, and then we get a 1, maybe 2-minute scene here at the beginning focused on it, and, Dalton says to Amir, who brings it up, and he says, we have to move on. We can't really like focus on these things. We have to move forward. So I agree with Dalton there, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like that they just kind of went totally away from it. I felt like even just one scene, like with a victim or something like that, showing, something about the event, because it was a big event. Like, I think they said over 20 were injured. I think they said 4 or 5 were dead. So, or maybe even make this episode them going after the bomber and the truck. So, I don't know. Just really confusing to me. I wasn't really happy with that, but that was one of the only negatives in this episode. I really liked the rest of it, but yeah, I just felt like that cliffhanger, that was just disappointing for me, in that regard, that they had that and they kind of faked us out, and then they didn't even really visit it this episode. So yeah, and the word I was looking for is potential, so just remember that. But anyways, yeah, so then later we see this woman there, the CIA agent Cassie Connor. At that point we don't know her name, but later on we obviously do. So basically she goes back to her headquarters there in Russia. I believe it's in I think it's in Ukraine, actually. And basically she finds all her co-workers dead in this building, the headquarters building there. And, obviously she's really surprised. She doesn't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden, these Russian military men, or at least they look like it, they're wearing, the green camouflage sort of. And, they come in, they try to shoot her. But she's able to, to win this fight, really, with these 2 big soldiers. Yeah, really just a badass moment there, right? that she's able to win. And Yeah, it was a great action scene, probably one of the best this episode, right? And that's what I'm talking about, action scenes. Like that was a really great episode. And at that point in the episode, we didn't know if she was gonna die or not, right? Like we didn't know if because there's some big stakes there in that scene, and I thought it was really well done. I thought it was definitely realistic, right? Like that definitely could happen, and she's such a good fighter and such a good shooter, I guess, that she's able to beat these guys, and she's able to lock the door too, so they can't get back in. And yeah, so then when she's during the gunfight, their little standoff, she makes a distress call to the DIA quickly, and then is able to alert them, and that's how they basically find out about it all. And yeah, so the episode kind of goes from there. The DIA then calls Dalton and his team for the mission to save Cassie and get her out of Russia alive. Right, so that's basically the mission. Go to the headquarters, find her, and get her out alive and to safety. Right, so another mission, and then that kind of sets up the format here for the show. It seems like, at least, that we're gonna see kind of a mission a week type of deal with this show, and I'm fine with that, right? I just thought, to acknowledge that, right, that kind of lines that up, right? We saw a mission last episode, we see a new one this episode, 2 different locations, 2 different, women, obviously, that are being rescued, so, yeah, definitely kind of a cool idea, right? A little bit, turning into procedural, a little bit, but there are some big differences as well, right? It's not like just a doctor in the same hospital working on different patients or whatever, but yeah, so it's definitely different location and all that, and some great character focus too, so it's going to be a little bit different than a regular procedural, but anyways, so yeah, that's what we kind of got there. So yeah, so we see the team get to the headquarters. They're able to rescue Cassie pretty easily, actually, and it seemed too easy to me, right? And I'm like, we're only 15 minutes into this episode. Like, how how is this going to be the whole episode? Did they do 2 missions in one? I didn't think so, but basically they put her on this helicopter to go back home. She's safe now. They're kind of relaxing. But then meanwhile, this Russian soldier comes by on this truck with a huge machine gun that's kind of like set up and with a scope, long range, shot. And he's able to shoot down the helicopter, and it crashes down just like in the middle of the city. So yeah, that was a crazy scene there, and again, a good action scene. I would have liked to see it kind of go down. I'm not sure if we saw it go down or we kind of just saw it afterwards. I think we just saw it afterwards, but I would have liked to see that whole thing play out, like the Mayday, and then them actually crashing. That may have been, I don't know, may have been gory, right? But, So basically then the Russians find Cassie before Dalton and his team do at the crash site, and they take her. And her being her badass self is able to get away again from these soldiers. 2 of them are carrying her or whatever. And all of a sudden, she reacts really fast and is able to choke the one and then kill the other guy and then kill that guy. So yeah, it was pretty hectic and another great action scene. And so yeah, then now she's on the run, and Dalton and his team gotta track her down and somehow find her. So yeah. Then basically Patricia then, who's the boss in DC at the DIA, finds out that Cassie Connor is actually working on an inside job, and she's kind of spying on the Russians, I guess. That's kind of what I got out of it, because she has worked with the CIA. So, I'm not sure how, like, she was a mole or anything like in the Rush. I'm not sure exactly. But yeah, she was some sort of mole, and she was, spying on the Russians. And obviously, this makes it a lot more dangerous of a situation. She's not just a regular CIA worker, or agent, I guess. So basically, they think that the Russians figured her out, right, and are doing anything they can to catch her, right, because they don't want secrets getting out, and obviously she was a mole on them, right, so they want to punish her for that. So this kind of ups the stakes of the mission for the team, right, and now it becomes they have to find her and get her out alive somehow and leave Russia as soon as possible. Because the stakes just rise exponentially here and everyone's really at risk. So yeah, I really like that too, that there was like something there that kind of upped the stakes of this as well, because Dalton and his team, yeah, they're gonna go for it or whatever, but this made it a lot more tense too, and created some good suspense throughout the episode as well. So I did enjoy that part there, and a good part to involve DC in too as well. So basically, then we see the DC team work together with Dalton and his team. And I really like this dynamic here between the two, or I guess the three, Patricia counts, I guess. So the three main characters there in DC at the DIA, and then we have Dalton's team as well. So we're kind of looking at two different viewpoints here, two different spectrums, and I really like it. I think that these office people kind of go unnoticed, right? Only the soldiers who actually pull the trigger and all that, they get recognition, but obviously, the office people, or the communications people, they do a lot of stuff too. So yeah, I really like how they're taking it both ways here. And there's obviously more screen time for Dalton and the team in those scenes, but there's also pretty significant screen time for them as well. So I really like that. Them working together. So they work together here as they find more and more soldiers. Dalton's team on the ground, they find a lot of these soldiers being deployed in order to find this girl, and this is we see the stakes being stacked higher against them now with all these men, and there's only 5 of them. So basically, then they are able to take out some soldiers that try to set a trap on them. So they take Cassie's collar, or no, not a collar, a bracelet, I think. And then they set up a trap, or they try to. And Dalton and the team kind of outsmart them and are able to get through. And yeah, so that was a really, again, another great action scene. And Dalton, I really love the part where he's like right above the guy on the pole, and he says like, I don't know what you're talking about or whatever, and he just pulls the trigger. I mean he's just a ruthless guy, right? And I really like that scene as well. And then we also got to see a little conflict as well between the group with Jazz and Preach a little bit, and I guess Amir as well. But those three were kind of arguing back and forth, and Jazz kind of got a little bit defensive, right? And she said, what are we doing? We're just sitting here and waiting. We're not doing anything. And Dalton kind of works out the situation. But yeah, it was good to see conflict though, because we haven't really seen that much late. We just see that they're all happy, they're all working together, they're a great team. But obviously, there's going to be some conflict, right? So I really like that realistic, portion of the plot there. So then the DC team is able to track her down to this women's bathing place with using like the hydro grid, or the electric power grid. And they learn that Cassie's like slowly setting off the power to these buildings, and it's kind of creating a kind of a trail of breadcrumbs to this bathing place. So essentially they find out that she's there. So yeah, obviously once they get this location, helps out Dalton's team a lot. Jazz goes in the building then, and she's harassed beforehand. That was kind of funny too. Like they have a lot of not a lot, but some comedy as well in this, and I think that's really, really necessary as well for a show with a plot like this. And I really enjoy that. I like the comedy so far. It's not too dirty or anything, but it's not, kind of Adam Sandler stuff, right? It's kind of in between there, and I think it's a good compromise. I really do. I find it funny. Like I laughed out loud a couple times in this episode. So yeah, so Jazz goes in the building. She's able to find Cassie with the help of that old woman there who's working at the place. And then Dalton and the team picked them up from the back alley there at the building. So it was kind of a funny scene where they kind of rolled up there and picked her up. And yeah, so they get the 2 girls. They get Cassie, more importantly, obviously. And yeah, Dalton gives his blood to Cassie because she's losing too much, so she needs blood to help to survive this. So another noble thing done by Adam Dalton there. Just a great leader, and that we see. And now basically the next problem is that the Russians are shadowing this helicopter that's trying to land that can take them out of Russia, and they have to find some way to get these Russians either off of the helicopter, or somehow just land this helicopter safely so they can leave. And that kind of creates this whole big plan at the very end of the episode, which I thought was brilliant, right? And I would have liked a little bit more lead up, because like Preach is like the only one who kind of said like he sees blood, and then he's like, oh, that could work, and like us as viewers, we have no idea what's going on, right? So I don't know, maybe a little bit more of an explanation rather than just seeing it play out, but I like that too. It's a good twist, right? We didn't see it coming, so it was a little bit of a surprise. But yeah, so basically Dalton and Preach then go to set up a trap at a storage facility, and Dalton, takes a bloody handprint, and, puts it on the door there to make it look like, that Cassie, ran in there. So basically then Jazz, Cassie, Amir, and, McGuire, and, I think that's it. Yeah, the four, or yeah, the 3 or 4 of them, whatever, they basically head for the helicopter pad, because the helicopter is now landed, because all these Russians are focused in on this storage facility now and finding her there. So basically the trap ends up working. These Russians fall for it, and the whole place just, engulfed in flames, explodes as soon as the Russians open the doors there. And they didn't even notice it until that, the guy said at the last moment, he's like, no, don't, and then it blew up. So, yeah, it was, really good scene there. Great action again. And he knew it was going to happen. I saw that coming, right? That it was a trap, like, from, quite a bit ahead. But still, I thought it was a good payoff, right? When it exploded and, all the Russians kind of went flying there. Or the soldiers, I guess. I shouldn't say Russians. But yeah, so, and then it was a suspenseful scene with Jazz and, the others waiting for Dalton to return there at the helicopter. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really worried at all. I knew that Dalton and Preach were going to make it back, and it was just a matter of time. But it was a good suspenseful scene nonetheless, right, to show that, and to show, obviously, the team really cares about them, right? So just to show that as well. And yeah, of course, Dalton and Preach make it back, and they're able to get in the helicopter and get to safety. They're able to get out of Russia. So yeah, really great end of the episode, or the end of the mission, I guess. Then the last scene of the episode is sort of the celebration barbecue at the end there. And yeah, it kind of seems like a tradition for the team, right? They fight a mission, they do something, and then they kind of celebrate. Last episode they had that beach scene where they're kind of, all just playing on the beach there. Now they're having a celebration barbecue. So yeah, just, really nice to see them coming together too, kind of as a family, right? And having these events, celebrating, because, what else are they supposed to do? They go out and kill people, on these missions. And, as Dalton said at the beginning, you just have to move on. We have to look forward. So, really great representation of that. And yeah, and then we also see that Jazz and Dalton bonding a little bit at the end there, and she kind of apologizes for what she said earlier. Dalton, kind of, accepts her apology, I guess, and also apologizes. So yeah, a little bit of bonding there that we see, and not just that scene, right? Episode 1 and 2, they're in the car, they're talking a little bit. So yeah, maybe a future romance between them. You got to have a romance in these shows, and I'm thinking that is what that's going to be. She is the only woman in the group, of course, right? So 4 guys and her. And then, of course, there's 2 women back at the DIA as well. So yeah, and all the women characters are really powerful as well in this show. So that's really great to see as well, the dynamic there as well. So yeah, that is basically the recap of this one. Yeah, I condensed it a lot. I do know that, but yeah, just to make it a little bit quicker here. So now I'll get to my rating and my overall thoughts of this episode. Alright, so for this episode of the Brave second episode, I'm going to give it a 4.4 out of 5. So yeah, last episode I gave it a 4.7, and in hindsight I realized that may have been a little high. But I was just really excited. I was really surprised at this show, and that pilot really just blew away my expectations. So yeah, so I was really happy with that, and that's kind of why that rating was what it was. But yeah, 4.4 for this episode. Yeah, I thought it was good, right? It didn't disappoint, well, except for the beginning. But yeah, it wasn't really a disappointment, and yeah, just not as good as last week. So now, a few things I want to mention. I think most of them are negatives actually, but these are just kind of, overall thoughts, right, of what I'm seeing right now. So yeah, I think that, I think it is a little bit stereotypical military, drama sort of thing at the moment, at least. Obviously, we got, I think there's 13 episodes. So I think we got 11 more episodes to see. But at this point, they go to, Turkey or Syria last episode, and then Russia this episode. which are like the two biggest threats to the U.S. And it just seems like every military show, are like those are always the opponents or the villains in this, and they have to fight them. So I don't know. I just feel like it was a little just I've seen it before, a little repetitive. I feel like for the first two episodes, okay, I got the first episode, that was good. Well, then maybe go to somewhere else, right? Not to Russia. The two biggest military threats to the U.S. are like the two biggest problems, with violence and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but we kind of have to get past that, right? Location's only part of it, and I thought the rest of the episode was great, and I thought the storyline for it was good too. Like honestly, I think that you could have placed Cassie Connor anywhere in the world except for Russia there. And it that would obviously fix the location stuff. So I don't know. That's my opinion there. And again, another woman in distress, right? The first episode, they had to rescue a woman that was captured, and same in this episode. So yeah, I don't know. I've read some things online which I don't agree with, but they're saying, well, basically the show's only they just go on a mission and try to save a woman that's in distress or whatever, right? And I don't agree with it, because I think the show's way much more, and it's good, right? That doesn't just automatically make it bad, but I do think that's a negative, right? I think I totally get the saving the woman in distress, right? That's a really good cause, but I think if we see it in episode 3 again, just another woman, I don't know if that's gonna get old after a bit. But, also we have to include that the women are different, right? This one was a badass CIA agent, and the other one was just, with Doctors Without Borders. She didn't really have any, military training or anything. So, a lot different, women there. So maybe, I guess, comparing them isn't really fair either. Just, seeing what the mission was for. I'm not sure. But anyways, that was just kind of, a little nitpicking there. And yeah, so positives, really fast pace. Well, not really fast paced, but fast pace throughout the episode. We switched we get the mission. Okay, we're right on it. They don't really spend, waste time on other things, and that's good. If you this show is really good if you just want to tune in for an hour and just see stuff play out, see action, and see these missions, right? They don't really focus too much on other stuff. They don't really have scenes where they kind of slow it down and they kind of talk, right? It's mostly just action and talking about what's next. So I really like that component, and that's why I'm also pairing this with SEAL Team this fall, because both shows are totally different in that aspect, and I do like both. I feel like both are definitely well done. So yeah, really great action scenes in this one. I thought even better than last episode, to be honest. The fighting was a lot better in this one. And yeah, so yep, definitely a positive, and yeah, really like that part of the show. And yeah, of course, then the beginning of the app that did go into the rating actually quite a bit, to be honest. That was probably my least favorite point so far of this show, that they set up this cliffhanger and it ended up kind of being fake, right? So it is what it is, right? But yeah, I already kind of voiced my opinions on that, so I won't repeat myself too much there. But yeah, and I also just wanted to mention, I think the pilot had close to 6 million or 5.7 million, I think. I'm not sure about these exact numbers, and this is just live viewers in the U.S. And so then the second episode actually didn't drop that much. It only dropped about, I think, 0.30. I think it was at a 5.4 or something like that for the second episode. So yeah, obviously this cliffhanger got people to watch, got people to come back, quite a few people to come back, right? And it kind of disappointed. So we'll have to see where episode 3 goes. I think that because of that, I think that the ratings are going to drop a little bit. Maybe not much, but a little bit, I think, for sure. So, yeah, that's just kind of my point there. And yeah, I might be wrong with those numbers, but that's sort of what I read. I think I read that on Tuesday for this week. So, obviously, they kind of update these numbers, right? And those are kind of estimates as well. So, by the end of the season, they kind of release, full official view counts and all that. So, yeah. Favorite character for this one is going to be Jasmine Khan, or Jazz, they call her. And she's played by Natasha. I'm not sure if it's Natasha or Natasha because it's CH instead of SH. but I guess Natasha Karam is her name. And yeah, she's doing great. Honestly, I mean, being the only woman in this team of of all these brutes men, right? All these tough guys. Is obviously going to be a challenge, and I think she's playing the role great. I think it's a great character so far. I'm really feeling attached to her, right? I really feel for her throughout, and I think she's a total badass as well, right? I think she's really powerful, and yeah, she's a great special ops sort of I guess soldier, I guess, right? But yeah, she's great. So yeah, and I think that the actress is doing a great job. I think all the acting is pretty good so far. Honestly, I thought all the main characters at least are doing a bang up job so far, so that really helps the show, obviously. But yeah, anyways, that'll just about do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Thanks for the support of my recent videos. Like I say, the channel is actually, and I'm being serious, I mean, it's really growing lately, and I really appreciate that, So anyways, yeah, thank you so much for that. Thank you for watching again for this video. And yeah, so the SEAL Team review should be up after this one. Not too far. It's coming like right after this. I'm going to make it. So yeah, look out for that one as well if you're looking for that. And if you're following both these shows, definitely subscribe to the channel, right? I'm going to be doing them for the whole season in the fall. So for sure, keep coming back and watching the reviews. So anyways, guys, like I said, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week for The Brave, Season 1, Episode 3. Stay.